All right, welcome to tonight's episode. I wanted to speak first of all to an interesting challenge that I was having with the DJI Osmo 3 that I'm using to hold this phone. I noticed over the last couple of videos that there was a distinct drift to the gimbal. Now, this thing is designed to limit wobble, like as I move my hand around, which I'm doing now. You obviously can't see that because the camera stays the same irrespective of how I move my hand, and that's its purpose. But when it's not set up properly, it starts to drift. And so I looked up and I was like, oh, what's causing that? And apparently it was in the initial setup of the phone. So if you've used one of these before, you'll know that the critical step is to make sure that the phone is balanced in the holder. It does not work if the phone is unbalanced, and it will cause drift. And yet here it was, one YouTube away, beautiful, solved it, and tonight it appears, at least so far, that we have resolved the drift problem. But let's talk about a system that is perhaps before business, before production, before profit, before protection. And that system is the system for power. Like, how are you going to get things done in the world? If you're 20-something or 30-something, then perhaps you can just do it on pure hustle, pure power, the drive, the need to actually create and make it happen. But an interesting thing happens at least for me, as I got older. First of all, I realized that things were probably going to be okay, which took away that almost desperation or that fear that I had to hustle so hard to make it happen. And this was probably a good thing, that using my adrenaline and fear to get stuff done, it only has so much of a lifespan. And only in transitioning to my 40s, I was like, hang on, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And interestingly enough, right at 40, a gentleman showed up and said, hey, if you want to produce, then you better have power to do that. You better have the power to actually go and do the things in your life that you say that you want to do. And this was much like having an engine in a vehicle that was actually connected to the vehicle. That when I turned the key, that the engine came alive and suddenly I could go somewhere. Previously, I had taken the engine out of the vehicle and revved the hell out of it. And yes, it kind of got some results. Put it onto some other machine and it did some things, but it was by no means elegant or effective. But when I started learning about the reverse engineered capacity to create power, or have the power to create the production. So it was reverse engineered production, and that came from power. And suddenly I was trained in a system for creating power in my life on a daily basis. Every day, to do certain things, certain actions that you most likely know benefit you as well, and to track them. And I paid $100 for this experience. And out of that has come an interesting finding, that somehow in the daily application of simple habits, that there is the creation of power, and there is the transformation of who I have become over these last 4 years. And they've been very beneficial. That I see others at 44 with guts, and they've failed to look after their body, and they have no connection to something greater in this world. They have no spirituality. They have no God. They have just money or just sex or just drugs or whatever they are. There is no higher calling. And yet I was like, I want that. I want that connection to something greater, to believe that this is not just a random experience, but rather there is a purpose to my life. So my body and my being, and then business, the capacity to make money and pay for things because I have family, I have my wife and my kids, and we like living well. Like, life is amazing. There's some incredible experiences that can be had. Not all of them require money, by no means, but it certainly allows some experiences that can only be accessed with money. So yes, there is a value in a camping trip, and yes, there is a value in a ski trip, and yes, there is value in home cooking, and yes, there's value in being able to go to a restaurant and share a meal together. So money's important. Money pays the bills. Money puts a roof over my family's head. So having that business game on point as well. But the really interesting one, the one that got me into Warrior in the first place, was none of these three. While they've been greatly beneficial, it was the question about balance. My relationship with my wife. They showed up and said, you know what, we've got something that we know how to do marriage. And I was like, really? You guys know how to do marriage? I'm interested. I'm interested in what you've got, because I was struggling. I didn't get taught how to be a married man with children. I was modeled at some degree, and my father did the best that he could. He did a really good job. But he also lived in simpler times. The world today, it's chaotic, it's difficult, it's crazy. It's like, whoa, the intensity of the experience of today is, it requires more of a consistent system than perhaps he got away with. Date night every week. I've been slack. As I say that, I'm like, damn, when was the last time I took my wife on a date? It's been a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of weeks. Yes, we've been in lockdown, but that just is an excuse for lack of creativity. If anything, we have had some very enjoyable moments on the front deck. We even meditated together, which was a really cool experience. I was like, wow, that's really cool. My wife traditionally hasn't seen much value in this, but she was like, you know what? I'll come and join you. I was like, hey, that was cool. But when all four of these things are on point, my body, my being, my balance, and my business, then there is a power created. And the day that I have when all of this is taken care of before 8 o'clock is a very different day than the one where I do not have these on point. It's been a relatively consistent experience for some years now, where I'll get all 4 points every day. And when I do that, there is a better week. And like when I drop them, when I'm scoring 25 or 26 or 27 and a half, so you get 4 points for a day, and there's 7 days in a week, so 28 for the week. Those weeks have a different essence to them, a different power to them. The capacity where life just begins to open up. And it may seem like a waste of time to get up and work through a training session, and work through a meditation, and work through studying business, and work through where am I grateful and honoring for my wife and children. But when they are done, there is no doubt that there is an increased power that comes through my life. So this system, this daily system that is tracked, it has been a major blessing in my life. If you're interested in this, if you'd like to know more about it, then head over to playwarrior.io. That's playwarrior.io. It's confronting. It's difficult. It is a war. There's no doubt about that. I almost have trouble waking up some mornings. I'm like, oh man, I got to do it again. I just did it yesterday, and I did it the day before. When do I get a holiday? But the power that comes from this is inarguable. It's not just me. It's not just me. There are many, many who have explored this and found benefits in making sure that these aspects of their life are taken care of every day. It just leads to a better way to live, at least in my opinion. And if you're interested, perhaps you'd be like, you know what, I could do with a bit more power. I could do with a lot more power in my life to create the life that I want. Because it will take power, and it's going to take application of that power into your production game, into your profit game, into your protection game, so that you can discover who you really are. And perhaps that is the ultimate purpose of this entire adventure called life. Who am I? Who are you? And that the grace of God should provide us with this opportunity to play in this sphere at all. It is truly the most amazing thing to wake up each day and look around, whatever your surroundings are. Amazing, terrible. The fact that it exists at all is an absolute miracle. Watching the sun and the moon and the stars and the grass and the trees and the animals, and of course, all of the amazing human beings that are here at this time. So I'm going to finish up there. We've taken a little bit of a different turn, a little bit of a different discussion about a system to create power, not for the specifics around a particular aspect of business, but rather the much bigger game of how do you create systems for power in your life. I hope you got a lot of value out of tonight's Facebook Live. I certainly enjoyed making it for you. And I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's episode as we continue this journey into the exploration of how systems create results. I'll see you then.